If you're looking to go topless in your next new vehicle, but you don't want to spend over $50,000, your choices among affordable convertible sports cars are pretty limited to just 3 models: the Mazda Miata, the Ford Mustang, and of course the Mini Cooper. Now, the latest Mini Cooper got a full redesign last year, but Mini only showed us the hardtop 2 and 4-door models. So for 2025, they're essentially applying the all-new architecture to their topless version. This week, as you can see, we are testing out the latest Mini Cooper convertible in this Cooper S trim level. As you can see, it's built on an updated architecture. It has an updated design on the outside, a brand new interior with a much improved infotainment display, and underneath the hood, we have a choice of a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder available in 3 specific outputs depending on your trim level. So as you can see, this week we are driving around in this copper gray metallic Cooper S, and the big question I want to answer for those of you who want to go topless but you don't want to break the bank: how does the brand new 2025 Mini Cooper S convertible stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the brand new sheet metal for this Mini Cooper convertible, let me first go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, just like the hardtop version that I tested a couple of months ago, the convertible is also offered with the same 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder available in 3 specific outputs. Now, underneath the curvaceous and bubbly hood, which is very interesting because it actually has cutouts for the headlights actually stay in position, which is very characteristic of the Mini Cooper from generations ago. You're gonna find a transverse mounted engine, because remember, this vehicle is riding on a front-wheel drive architecture. It's only available with front-wheel drive, but the 3-cylinder turbo engine has been discontinued. And in its place is a 2-liter B48 direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder available in 3 specific outputs. So if you go for the base Cooper, you have 161 horsepower. The Cooper S increases that horsepower to 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. Or you can also go for the JCW, which is the sport version, the John Cooper Works, which ups the output to 228 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. We'll save that for a different review. This Cooper S that we're testing here is the middle trim. It's hooked up to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. That's the sad news about the all-new 4th generation Mini Cooper, is there's no more manual transmission available even on the JCW. Now, like I said earlier, all Coopers are front-wheel drive, of course. And fuel economy for the convertible is rated at 26 in the city, 36 on the highway. It loses about 2 mpg compared to the hardtop 2-door version, but you still get 30 mpg combined. This has an 11.6 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 350-ish miles of range on a full tank. That's on the recommended premium, but you can put regular gas in this vehicle. Now, Mini quotes the 0 to 60 time at 6.7 seconds. I suspect that's conservative, considering we got 5.7 in the hardtop version. Top speed for this model is 130 miles an hour. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 3,100 pounds. It's about 100-ish pounds heavier versus the hardtop 2-door version. So it's not that much heavier, considering the top has now been removed. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, as you can see, Minis have always had a very conservative redo when it comes to the exterior design. This new version is instantly recognizable as a Mini Cooper. And I have to say, when I first had a chance to test out this vehicle a couple months ago in the Cooper S in red, I loved the entire package. It's essentially preserved the character, the charm, the charisma of the old Mini Cooper, but brought it into the modern era. Now, first of all, this color, as the sun decides to finally pop out, you can see this color is called copper gray metallic. It's actually a free color. It's kind of like a warm gray. It's a new and exclusive color to the convertible versions. And you can see here, when the sun hits it, you have this kind of like almost like this brownish tint to the gray. It's a warm gray, which looks great. You have these full LED headlights with the signature LED daytime running light, which is an oval shape with a adaptive LED low and high beam headlight, as you can see, with a really interesting light signature. The front end of my particular test car has this kind of rose gold accent along the Mini grille, and that's because this is known as the favored style here. You can basically go from classic, favored, or JCW style for the Cooper S. I actually really like the JCW because it adds like a more aggressive front bumper with some functional air intake openings. As you can see for the Cooper S, you just have kind of like a smooth out area here with some functional openings here with this kind of copper accented rose gold accent along the grille. You can see the red S badge lets you know that you have the higher output engine, and you also have the radar sensor there for the adaptive cruise, front camera system that's included with the iconic trim. My test car, again, includes the 360 camera for an extra $4,100 as part of the iconic trim. And the one thing I'm also noticing is there's this unpainted cladding there at the lower fascia. Sadly, even on the JCW, Mini doesn't offer a full paint finish on this car, which I really think they should consider offering. But overall, it still has a cute and also, you know, characteristic look to it that I personally love. I think Mini's design team nailed it when it comes to the exterior design. Now, moving around the side profile, the convertible is only offered as a 2-door, which makes sense. The 4-door topless version would just look really ungainly, and this new version essentially rides on the same 98.1-inch wheelbase. Its overall length has grown by 2 inches to 152.8. It's around 68.7 inches wide. So dimensionally, this is still a small car. Technically, a Miata is, I believe, like an inch longer than this vehicle. You can see the wheel arch trim here. Again, it is an unpainted cladding, which I really want Mini to offer a full paint finish at some point. You can see the wheels. My test car for an extra $700, I think, has these 18-inch directional machine bicolor wheels, which look fantastic. It's riding on a relatively skinny 215/40 R18 Pirelli P0 or a Pirelli P7 Summer Performance tire. You have all disc brakes, independent suspension, of course, and then you can get the option of a dynamic adaptive damper for $500. My test car, however, is missing that, so it just has the passive dampers. Now, of course, being that this is the favored trim, you also have a choice between white or black painted side mirror caps. The A-pillar here for the windshield is also black accented, which looks nice. And then also my test car has the Vesson beige interior, which we'll talk about that later on. And then moving for the rest of the profile, you can see the soft top of this vehicle certainly looks good when it's folded down. The top itself is actually the same design as the previous generation. It goes up and down in around 20 seconds. You can do so at speeds of up to 20 miles an hour. And you can also get like the British flag logo embroidered onto the actual rooftop for an extra $650. It also comes with this really cool sunroof feature. The top itself, when it's down, however, this little like deck lid back here is a little bit raised up, and it does block your rear visibility. Mini could fix that if they offered a digital camera rear mirror, but sadly they still don't offer that. Looking at the rear, this is where things are actually different for the Cooper convertible compared to the hardtop. The rear end actually gets a different taillight design. As you can see, the taillights are a little bit more bubbly and oval shape as opposed to the triangular, angrier looking taillights in the hardtop version. You can see it still kind of creates a light signature that's supposed to look like the British flag, along with this kind of gloss black accent along the taillights, gloss black along the rear deck lid as well. And then the rear bumper, you can see, has some painted and unpainted finishes. No visible exhaust tip. That's what you get on the JCW. It will have a center outlet chrome exhaust, which will probably give you a more meaner sound, which I'll have a JCW in a couple of weeks to test out as well, but it'll be the hardtop as opposed to the 2-door. But let me know if you guys prefer these taillights or if you prefer the taillights on the hardtop. I definitely think the hardtop taillights are better. I almost wish that Mini didn't do this. These taillights remind me of the previous generation. Now, looking at the cargo area, you can see the trunk actually opens up the way a pickup truck tailgate would, which it folds down, which kind of makes sense because the way to access this if it opened up would kind of be impossible. So when it folds down like this, you have around 5.2 cubic feet of storage space, which is not a lot. It actually reduces the cargo space by 3.5 cubic feet compared to the hardtop version. You can see the opening isn't the biggest. This is essentially the built-in wind deflector that comes with the car. You can put it in the back seat to help minimize the wind noise. You can fold the seats down from back here, which will expand the cargo capacity, which I guess if you want to do so, you basically pull on that, push that over. You can see it provides an expanded cargo capacity. However, it's still not that big of an opening, so kind of keep that in mind. If you're looking for the best practicality, the Mini Cooper 4-door is going to offer, I believe, up to 38 cubic feet of storage space with the seats folded. But with this vehicle here, you're really going to be limiting what you can put in the actual trunk area, but you can also use the back seat if you need to put larger items like golf clubs or a roller bag. Now, moving on to the interior of this brand new Mini Cooper convertible. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. As you can see, this is the latest intelligent access key that comes standard on the Mini Cooper convertible. You can see there's a big Mini badge on the back of the key, and it's also a unique key versus what BMW uses. Remember, BMW technically owns Mini, but I like the fact that it has a unique look to the key. The buttons do remind me of buttons that BMW uses, but as you can see here, there is remote start on the fob. You push the lock button 3 times, it'll start the vehicle up. You can also push the lock button there, that'll lock the doors. The mirrors also electrically fold in. You have an unlock button here. You can also pop open the trunk and a panic function here. The car does come with a phone as a key functionality. However, that technically only works on the Cooper hardtop. On the convertible model, it lacks like an antenna that's on the roofline that apparently allows it to be hands-free. You can still use your phone as a key if you're an owner, but you have to take it out of your pocket and you have to place it along the door handle to do that. Most people will just end up using the key fob. And by the way, you can also open and close the top from the key fob. So if I push the lock button here and then hold it, wait for a second, it will roll the windows down and it'll actually just activate the sunroof feature instead first, which will essentially allow you to cool the interior off. If you do it again and then hold it a second time, that will actually open up the top completely. So this is a wonderful feature, especially if the car's been parked all day long in some hot sun, where you can essentially quickly cool off the interior. I love the fact that Mini makes it so simple, and it can be done right here from the key fob, which is a fantastic feature. Now, as you can see, approaching the door handle on this trim here, it's got gloss black painted door handles, and they're the traditional pull type. Mini does offer a walkaway lock and unlock features, which is what BMW offers. When I open the door, you can see I love the interior combination of my test car. First of all, this is part of the favored trim level or favored styling element, where you kind of get the gray fabric material here on the dashboard, on the door panels as well, which is fantastic. The seats, my test car has the Vesson beige seats, which is kind of a combination of like a cloth with like a leather material as well. These seats certainly are also the JCW style seats, but at the same time, I love the contrast stitching and piping that you get with the Mini badge over here with the interesting kind of like I don't even know what this is. It's like a weird tie-dye design to the contrast piping as well. These seats are sadly only heated. Mini does not offer a ventilated seats, which they should, considering this is a convertible. Keep in mind, if you guys want a brown interior, they don't offer a brown interior for now. And if you guys want the JCW, that sadly only comes with a black interior with red accents. So I'm hoping Mini will expand the color options on the inside at some point to include a brown and include a light color seat when you guys go for the sportier JCW. Now, as you can see, the door panel is kind of covered with this recycled fabric material, which feels very durable. You have kind of like the rose gold accents for the door handle trim. This is a slightly padded soft touch injection molded plastic. These window controls, they feel like they were pulled out of a lower line BMW. Hard touch plastic over here. And then when you guys go for the iconic trim, you also get the upgraded power front seats with 2-person memory. Which you also get the 8-way power, or I'm sorry, it's a 10-way power on the same passenger seat. So if you guys really want comfortable seats with power adjustments, you really want to step it up to the favored trim or the iconic trim for that extra $4,000. It includes a lot of additional features. Now, getting inside, because this is a convertible, it does have a low step-in height. I believe there's like 5 inches of ground clearance on this vehicle. As I shut the door, the door has that kind of like tinny sound when you shut the door, but remember, this is a convertible, so it's a frameless door design, of course. And then when you want to start it up, it's got this really interesting little twist thing where it kind of reminds you of like a key. It almost looks like a pacifier that you just twist to the right or to the left, and that will essentially start the vehicle up. Now, this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, so it doesn't kind of, whir to life. It has a very traditional starter noise. But as you can hear, the engine itself doesn't have, it has that typical 4-cylinder drone. You can also switch it to the go-kart mode, which is the sport mode, which makes that lovely Mario Kart sound. And it looks as if there's like a 5,000 RPM rev limiter, so it's a relatively decent limiter, and it has a decent growl as well, so I'm not too annoyed by the sound. But as you can see, the inside is pretty similar to the last Cooper 2-door that I tested, or hardtop that I tested. You have the same kind of durable fabric material here on the dashboard with this really cool like strap, which the strap itself has that same kind of design from the seats coming back over here, which is great. Let's go ahead and get the AC cranking because I have it turned off. I've had it turned off, but it's incredibly hot out here, which, as you can see, the AC itself actually works pretty well. It just needs cooled seats. I really think Mini should include some cooled seats, but a heads-up display is also included with this trim, which has like a separate glass that pops up. The upper dash here has a soft touch or hard touch injection molded plastic, but this again looks very cool. There is some ambient lighting that kind of is projected onto this part of the dash and that part of the dash. The steering wheel, as you can see, is a really cool design where really thick 9-3 grip, as you can see, with this really interesting strap for the third spoke. The wheel itself offers a manual tilt telescoping adjustment, so you can find a pretty comfortable driving position, which I like. No paddles on the wheel, however. You have to step it up to the JCW to get the paddles. You can get adaptive cruise, which this looks like they've taken the buttons from a BMW, of course. The horn, it actually sounds pretty loud considering how small this car is, so I'm really happy that they put some kind of puny, pathetic sounding horn. The vents, as you can see, are traditional. Like, there's a toggle that you control to manually adjust the airflow, which I love. And then as you can see, going to the infotainment display, this is the brand new 9.4-inch OLED display. It basically almost looks like a big Apple Watch is on the dash. And then the convertible includes this new feature called Always Open Timer, where it actually will measure how long you have the top down for this vehicle. So as you can see, in the last few days that I've had this car, it says that I've had the top down a total of 1 hour and 47 minutes. over the past 4 days. So that's really cool how it keeps track of that. Now it doesn't keep track of that when the car is off. So keep that in mind when the car is off. If you park it with the top down, it's not going to keep track of that unless the car is running and you're actually driving the vehicle. Now, of course, there's also embedded GPS in this vehicle, which when you tap that, come on, it sometimes I notice will take its sweet time trying to pull up some of the features. As you can see, it's trying to connect to my phone for some reason, which I'm not sure why it's trying to do that. But most of the times you're just going to be using the wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. You can see there's Sirius XM satellite radio, and these seats surprisingly have a massage function. Now I do find the massage function to be a little bit annoying. There's basically 4 different types of massage. And there's also like invigoration and revitalization. The massage themselves basically will kind of just make the lumbar go in and out, but it does it a little bit better than some of the other like Buicks that I've tested, which I don't like, but it's nice how it's here. But I would gladly trade the massage function for ventilated seats. So that's just me personally. There is a built-in speedometer that you can get where it actually gives you an actual rev counter there. So you can see just over 5,000 RPM is where it lets you go. So this is kind of if you want a traditional look, but everything else is controlled via this screen here. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, as you can see, but once you get through it, it is pretty much relatively straightforward. Your experiences here are the drive mode selectors. So there's go-kart, core, green, vivid, timeless, and balanced. Most of the times you're going to be driving the car in its core mode, which is kind of like the normal setting. As you can see, it has those really cool sound effects as well. Down here you can see your transmission selector is here. You push that up to go into reverse. There's your full 360 camera with trajectory parking sensors. It also has BMW's backup assist system, and you can see push that down to go into drive. There's just a low mode here, so there's again no paddles here to control the transmission manually. If you push that, that brings like a quick access function to driver assist and drivetrain and chassis controls. Your parking sensor off switch is over here, and then you have a volume knob there, which is nice. Your wireless phone charging pad is here, which is similar to what BMW puts in the X1, and then you have your cup holders here. And then on this favored trim here, you also get this little strap where you can pull up and reveal a little covered storage area, which is nice, along with your 2 USB-C charging ports, a power outlet, and this little center console here has a slightly padded lid, but sadly it doesn't even open up or slide forward and back, so kind of keep that in mind. It's a little annoying how it doesn't do that. The seats, like I said earlier, these are the JCW styled seats, and they are comfortable and supportive. I love the look of the beige Vesson leather and cloth material, which is a synthetic leather made from premium recycled materials. And then you can see here the glove box. It goes into the dash. It's big, actually. It's damped but not lined with felt. It offers additional covered storage. The Harman Kardon stereo is an upgrade from the base stereo in this car, but Mini didn't have any specs for it. It sounds pretty good, actually. If you're an audiophile, it's standard on this trim, optional on the Signature Plus trim. For an extra $800, so highly recommend that if you guys are into tunes, because you're probably going to want to do so in a topless car like this. You have a digital, or you have an auto dimming rearview mirror that's frameless, and as you can see when the top is down, it kind of creates that little blocked view from the stacked top that sits at the back. So it takes a little getting used to. This would be easily fixed if they just offered a digital camera rearview mirror. But overall, the interior, it doesn't feel luxurious, but it also feels really quirky. It has really unique materials, solid build quality, a comfortable ride, good visibility. So I think Mini did a great job with the interior, especially where they nailed it on these really comfortable seats, which is going to be important if you guys are driving this vehicle on a longer trip. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area, which, by the way, Mini makes it pretty easy. You basically just pull on this strap, and then when you push the seat forward all the way, it'll electrically move out of the way, which is good, again, to help shorter drivers like myself get back here. But this seat back here is essentially reserved for 2. What I love about not having the top up is you have unlimited amounts of headroom once you're in here. So as you can see, put the seat back. Mini actually claims there's 30.8 inches of legroom back here. Now I will say that this is gonna go back, but once it crushes my knees slightly, it'll sense that and it'll move itself up a little bit, which is nice. But for somebody that's 5'7", I can sit back here actually on shorter trips. What I do notice is this pillar comes inward, so it creates a more narrow feeling here, which is not good if you guys are a little bit of wider frame. But you do have a cup holder and some storage back here, a little more storage here. It would be nice if there was a head or an armrest here, but the headrest, you can see, you can also make it go up, which is important. This also has a built-in, I believe, roll hoop as well. No charge port or rechargeable charging ports over here, or no heated seats, of course, no vents even. But overall, if you need to put packages back here, or small kids or shorter adults like myself, you can certainly do so. And as you can see here with the roof up, I have infinite amounts of headroom, but I did have the roof up earlier and I noticed that it was a lot more claustrophobic. So again, if you're gonna put people back here, I would highly recommend doing so with the top down. So nowadays, trying to find an affordable or cheaper brand new convertible is getting harder and harder to find. However, this week, as you can see, we've got the top down and we have the privilege of driving the all new 4th generation Mini Cooper convertible. Although I think the convertible version is only technically in its 3rd generation, but regardless, this is based on the all-new generation Mini Cooper 2-door coupe that I recently just tested. The convertible, to me, seems like the most logical choice for this car because this is a car that you just want to have a lot of fun with. And when you can have the top down like this, it just makes things a ton more fun. Now, the model that we're driving is the Cooper S, which means it's the mid-trim. There's also the more powerful JCW if you guys want to spend an extra $7,000. But with this powertrain, it only comes with a 7-speed dual clutch. It's hooked up to the latest B48 2-liter twin-power turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder, making 201 horsepower, 21 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are pretty good. The 0 to 60 time that we got in the coupe was around 5.7 seconds. The convertible, I suspect, is going to be slower because it is a little heavier, but I also noticed that it just feels a little bit more like akin to boulevard cruising as opposed to, you know, canyon carving, or you're attacking your favorite back road, which is not a bad thing. That's the beautiful thing about the convertible models. It's just really great at just being a fun in the sun type of vehicle. Let's go ahead and try a 0 to 60 time here. All right, we got 6.45 seconds there. 6.45 seconds is around a little over a half a second slower versus the hardtop version, which doesn't surprise me. This is a heavier vehicle, but it also is not that much heavier, so it's surprising to see how much slower it is, but 6.45 is certainly still respectable. It's also faster than what Mini claims at 6.7 seconds. The JCW version of this car, Mini claims, will do it in 6.2 seconds, but still, this is a fun-to-drive vehicle that also sounds pretty good. It's hooked up to a quick-shifting 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which I really like. This car is only front-wheel drive. It also doesn't have any kind of limited slip differential or anything like that. Let's try another run here. This time we're going to try brake torquing it. Not much in terms of torque steer, which is very good. 6.85 seconds there. That's with it more going slightly uphill. So again, no actual form of launch control with this car, which I'm actually surprised it doesn't have it. I'm having trouble finding the stability control off switch in this vehicle. I think it's somewhere buried in the screen, which kind of tells me that Mini doesn't want you to touch it because there's not a separate hard button to turn that off. But 6.5 seconds, you know, in most driving situations is going to be fast enough for most people. The beautiful thing about the Mini Cooper convertible is a lot of the playfulness from the hardtop model is carried over here. Even though we've lost the top of this vehicle, it really just does a great job at just feeling very, very sporty. The steering in this car is darty. It's very quick, responsive. You can see it just changes direction so fast. The suspension stays nice and flat, but at the same time, my test car is lacking the adaptive dampers with the bigger 18-inch wheels. It surprisingly rides really well. I wasn't expecting this car to have a good ride quality, especially on the big, you know, 18-inch wheels, the bigger 18-inch wheels without adaptive dampers. There's also very to little cowl shake from this vehicle. When you hit a when you hit a bump, most convertibles, when you chop the roof off of a hardtop coupe, you really can notice the cowl shaking, which is the area over here. This car has a little bit, but it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It just feels really fun. This car, you know, obviously is a heavier and bigger vehicle than a Miata, but at the same time, I'm enjoying this car. I'm enjoying the visibility. I'm enjoying how much more space it has. I'm enjoying how it's a practical feeling car in addition to also being just really fun to drive. Now, this car will surprisingly not roast its front tires, and that's because, again, this car doesn't have, you know, that much power to kind of do so. I'll be curious to drive the JCW version, which has an extra 27 more horsepower versus this car. I think that'll basically improve the performance for sure. It also has around 60 more foot-pounds of torque, so that increase in the torque figure is going to be significant, relatively significant, especially for a little car like this. Let's try another run here. You can hear the turbo actually doing some whistling noises. 6.45 there. That's really consistent. So impressive performance. Obviously, this is a little bit slower than a Mazda Miata, with the manual transmission. The Miata with the automatic is noticeably slower, but I'm enjoying this car. It just feels like a car that you can more easily live with versus a Miata, but at the same time, it's still fun. I mean, yes, would this car be better with rear-wheel drive? Sure, but I think that it kind of fits the mission of the Mini Cooper convertible. I love the way this car feels. I also noticed when I have that built-in wind deflector, not built-in, well, it is built-in, but you can remove it. With the windows up as well at highway speeds, you can actually have a conversation with your passenger and not be, beat up too much by the wind going over your head. And finding some corners here, this thing just feels like it corners on rails. So the JCW version is going to take that, of course, to the next level. And I love the way this thing feels. It just makes the regular Mini Cooper, the hardtop, feel a little bit less joyous, because when you have the roof down and the wind in your face and the sun in your hair, like, it feels good. Like, this is the whole reason why you want a fun car like this. I mean, Mini's tagline for years was "Let's motor," and it basically feels like they were talking about the convertible. So I love it. I love the sound, I love the feel, I love the ride quality, I love the refinement, I love the seats in this car. Also, these are the JCW specific seats, or style seats, and with the Veston beige, it does a good job of just matching the copper gold exterior without getting too hot. This car is lacking ventilated seats. I think Mini should offer ventilated seats, especially at this price point. But I've been driving the car in go-kart mode, and it's, a joy to drive. Most people will probably just drive it in core mode, which it creates, like, again, a little experience, and it kind of quiets things down. The transmission will go into its higher gear a little bit more. I noticed in this mode, the dual clutch can be a little bit slow to respond. In go-kart, it's always right there. It's always immediate and snappy. But for a dual clutch, this is also a relatively smooth transmission. It doesn't have too much in terms of herky-jerkiness, which I've experienced in some BMW X1s that have this powertrain as well. So Mini's done a good job at just tuning this powertrain to, feel refined, but also be sporty. And I think that's important when you're talking about a vehicle like this, because I could actually daily drive this car. I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting it to be as comfortable as it is, and as well as having good visibility and comfortable seats, but it has that. And I think that's the reason, why I think the Mini Cooper convertible may just be one of my favorite vehicles. Now, in terms of the fuel efficiency, this car is rated to get 30 mpg in combined driving, 26-36. I averaged around 31 miles to the gallon in mixed driving, which is excellent. That's on premium gas. On the highway, it was able to do a little over 36 mpg, which is excellent. Again, in my full week of testing, I was getting around 320 miles of range on a full tank. It is rated to run on premium, but you can put regular in it. But other than that, it's got really good efficiency. And keep in mind, all the trims, regardless of whether you go for the base, the S, or the JCW, all get 30 mpg combined. The JCW, of course, is probably going to get the worst because you've got more sound coming from it. It's been tuned a little bit more sporty. I love the infotainment system in this car. You can see the wireless CarPlay is also connected, and it looks really modern. It looks like basically there's a giant Apple Watch that's in the actual screen of this vehicle. The heads-up display also looks pretty nice, although I would have preferred it to kind of be built into the windshield as opposed to having a separate piece of glass. But overall, I'm pleased with this car. I think Mini has done an amazing job with the Cooper family and just bringing it into the modern era. And I have to say, the convertible version just takes it to the next level. I personally would probably go for the JCW version just to have the most aggressive design. But if you don't care about having that little bit of extra performance and aggression, the S is probably going to be the sweet spot for the majority of buyers looking for a Cooper convertible. Now, as expected, the Mini brand isn't exactly going to light the world on fire in America when it comes to sales volume. However, you should know, that the Cooper family has always been the top-selling model in the Mini family. I mean, essentially, they have the Cooper with its different variants, and of course, the Countryman. The Cooper accounts for over 50% of sales figures. In fact, Mini says last year they sold just under 15,000 units, and the convertible version accounted for about 15% of those sales. So after spending a full week with the topless version of the all-new 4th generation Mini Cooper, I have to say the Mini team has seriously knocked it out of the park. The old model, which was definitely sporty, fun to drive, and full of charm and character, was just starting to feel very, very dated, especially in terms of technology. However, this new version really brings it up to today's modern levels with the brand new 9.4-inch infotainment system. The new 2-liter turbocharged engine with that dual clutch transmission delivers solid performance. We got 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds all day long without even trying. I will be looking forward to driving the JCW version in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. But I do believe that the Cooper S is going to give you that just right balance between performance and of course between everyday drivability, because the ride quality on this model, even with its bigger 18-inch wheels, is surprisingly supple. I was not expecting that, and my test car lacks the dynamic dampers, which for an extra $500 you could essentially make the ride quality even firmer or even softer at the touch of a button. While the interior has comfortable seats, the back seats definitely are still reserved for kids, but it's also surprisingly usable. I mean, compare this car to a Mazda Miata, and the Mini is far more practical. Compare it to a Ford Mustang, though, and the Mustang is far more practical further, but the Mustang is a much bigger and more expensive car. It's not going to have the same, fun to drive nature of the Mini Cooper unless you go for the V8 version, which will cost well over $50,000. The trunk is also pretty small, and I also love the design of this vehicle, but I also think that Mini should have kept the same taillights from the hardtop. I personally like the triangular, angrier taillights versus this model's taillights are a little bit more bubbly. They look like a direct evolution, basically, of the previous generation model. Now, of course, if you're looking for the topless version of the Mini Cooper, it's going to cost you more, but not that much more. I mean, you can essentially get into a base Mini Cooper hardtop two-door for about $29,000. The convertible is going to add $5,000 more to the price tag. Now, keep in mind, a Mazda Miata convertible starts at around $30,000. A Ford Mustang convertible starts at $40,000. So the Mini essentially splits the difference between the two. And this is where I find this car so appealing, because it has a lot of the charm and fun factor of the Miata convertible, of course, but at the same time, there's a back seat, there's a more spacious cabin, far better technology, and it also has a turbocharged engine with a better transmission. If you guys don't want to drive a manual, that's where you can buy the Mazda, but the Mazda Miata with an automatic, for me, is just a no-go. Now, of course, if you want the Cooper S is actually only around $2,000 more, $37,500 extra for the Cooper S, so it seems like a no-brainer to step it up from the base Cooper to the Cooper S. A JCW version is going to cost you at least $44,000, so that's a pretty hefty $7,000 increase. Now, of course, my test car here with the iconic trim level, which includes a lot of features like the AR or augmented reality GPS, the Harman Kardon stereo, the 360 camera, of course. And it also upgrades the wheels, the colors. You have the favored style, of course, for the front fascia and the design. My test car here, with the options that it has and destination, comes to around $43,295. So just under $44,000 is definitely getting a little expensive, but remember, a base Mustang starts at 40 grand. Most Mustangs are going to be closer to $50,000 with similar levels of equipment. You can get into like a Miata for around $30,000, but most of you are going to probably want the GT. That's going to be around $39,000, depending on, whether you want the RF or the soft top version. The soft top, I think you can have it for around $37,000. So there is something to be, had about the Mini Cooper convertible. It's a charming, more practical vehicle that finally feels modern, that's still sporty, that's still also relatively efficient and fun to drive and comfortable. So if you're in the market for an affordable convertible with lots of British charm, you should definitely put this vehicle at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Mini Cooper S convertible. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.